right, here we go. It's time for another Sprint Zone 27/2023, February, and we've got a pretty good sized group here. I'm really surprised because in past years the group hasn't been nearly as large, but I guess this is a testimony to the die-hard cycling community that has become the TFR. I'd like to make a shout out here to special rider Byron, who has offered up part of his video. My camera failed halfway through, so it's his GoPro footage that will finish off the second half. And there is a good shot of him there in silhouette, the big dog. Look at those muscles rippling. The only thing missing here is, in fact, the cape. Got Michael next to him. We got Tim there, Dustin ahead. Looks like Ian. And then we've got guest rider Enrique, who has been here before, but it's been a while. And up front, there's a few others like Greg and Isla, which we will be showcasing later on in the footage. So, taking a look at what we've got here, you can see we're in a pretty good formation. And I would just like to make the statement here that, in the past I'd be thinking, maybe we were out on the road a little too much. But given all some of the accidents that I've seen recently in Fort Collins, it's much better to control the lane. And given that there's plenty of room to pass here, I think, given that the fact is in a tight bunch, this is probably a better way to go. Looking up the road, and it looks like it will be James Stevens joining us. Maybe from the TTH, but hopefully waiting for us, as this is a much more fun ride. Not as much suffering, a lot more jocularity. That being said, it's good that he's here. And now it is time for the games to begin. Everyone signals to make the right-hand turn onto Prospect, and it's the new Prospect Road without the dangerous chicane. And I'm okay with that because it really allows us to start the melee a bit earlier. Around the corner, and we're looking at my wattage, coming around at like 150, 200 watts. And I can see now that there is, in fact, lethargy in the group. And this might be a good thing because it is kind of February, and in the old days, we really wouldn't even have the sprint zone. We would ride the sprint zone, but it would just be at like sub tempo just to get everybody going. But now you can see people up front that don't really want to get the ball started early. We got Travis, who's a new rider. He's been around for a couple of months, but it's only recently that he's been attending regularly. We got Enrique coming back in the receiving line on the right-hand side, wanting no part of the front. And of course, I believe it's probably his first sprint zone, so it's better to sit back and observe the culture of the ride before trying to beat everybody else up. Looks like Dean Davis there. Haven't seen him in a while, and hopefully he is not under a training plan today and he's able to do what he wants. Up front, there's Travis, and it looks like I come to the front for some reason. I suspect, oh no, I don't suspect, I know, I sense that there was a little too much complacency here. And this is, in fact, the sprint zone. There's a reputation to be held, and people's feet need to be held to the fire to keep everybody honest. I think what's happening here is that a lot of the riders are becoming a lot more tactical. They know who's on the ride, and they know there's no need to do work because you got big men, Justin, Dean, Enrique, to name a few, that will easily be able to toe the line, and there's no reason that they need to. So you probably noticed a little extra box in the upper right hand of the screen. And this is the footage that Byron has so generously donated. And so I figured I would show his rear view and we'll get a good perspective of what he's seeing and then what I'm seeing in the rears. So we got Isla back there behind Byron, and she knows a safe wheel. Back there, sitting in nicely, coasting a lot. Look at that. Looking very good. Looks like Dean might be back there with her. Anyway, up front, here I am, keeping everybody honest. And it seemed like maybe I was getting a gap on people, but I didn't think I was going that hard. Ian quick to make the chase, and it looks like it's two of us strong, but the patient peloton knows that we're not going anywhere and they are going to reel us in. Coming up alongside, let's see who's ready to start the party, and it looks like our very own James Stevens, and he's asking if in fact the melee has officially started, and I indeed said yes, you may begin at will. Justin coming through, Scott coming through, who's looking really strong recently, him looking strong. Byron, the big dog there, and you can see he in front of me, and you see his rear view with Enrique up there in the right hand. This is a really nice view. I might have to do this more often because this is kind of cool. I know Ian and Byron sometimes bring their cameras a lot, so that might be something to add and maybe get them to comment. So we got Michael back there, got the visor. I'm going to talk about the visor. It's a good thing as far as keeping the sun out of your eyes. It's a bad thing for aerodynamics when you dip your head. Greg looking strong back there. Isla hanging on, looking really strong. Looks like Travis maybe, and Dean back there as the pace begins to hot up a bit. I'm on Ian's wheel, and I'm always a little weary because I know at some point Ian's going to drop, so I have to have a heads up. It's always a pain when you try to get gapped off, and it's like, I know I don't want to be in this position, but I think, well, I'm not racing. It's something I'm going to have to deal with. Keep a heads up to see if somebody's going to die in front of me, so I might as well just stay where I am. And besides, I'm kind of tired, did weights the day before, and my legs really weren't feeling it. So, the forward moving line coming through, everybody is beginning to participate, and you can see it looks like Byron heading to the front. I passed Tim there, I passed Scott there, sagging back. Looks like Mr. Stevens coming off the front, looking strong, and up front, yes, Byron driving the pace. Unfortunately, Byron didn't have any telemetry to share, so we don't know what he's doing up there. We can make a guess that it ain't no stinking 200 watts. That's for certain. Enrique looking really comfortable on Byron's wheel. This is a good chance for him to take a look to see what his form really looks like, to see what it's like to be in the peloton, almost like being on TV. And there he is. So my footage at this point cuts out, and now it's on to Byron's footage. And I'd like to thank him because otherwise we really wouldn't have a video, and I probably wouldn't have made the video. Byron coming back, and we see Ian there, and Ian kind of waves me to come through. I'm like, I ain't coming through. You got this position. You can go hang out there because it's going to take a little bit of effort for me to go around at this point, and that is something that I'm not really prepared to do. Ian riding all over the place. And he's looking slimmer than in past years. I think maybe all this riding is whipping him into extra good shape. I know he did um, almost 800 miles in January, so he is looking strong this year. Speed up there, my wattage is up there, and a little bit of acceleration there as I go into the 300 watts. Oh, and Ian drops it. Now I'm forced to try to close the gap. Oh, and this is where things get ugly. We have this little grade here, which isn't good, and trying to cover this, and for me, it looks like it's almost game over. It's like Dean coming hard, an opportunist, not really looking to bring people by, but maybe he was going too hard. Scott with a wicked acceleration makes the catch. Well done, as Scott has been running super strong lately. Coming up behind him, looks like Justin also able to make the juncture, and you can see a little bit in arrears that the rest of us are or have been dispatched and we are unable to make contact. And for everybody who wonders what it's like, and in many of my videos recently, I have not been able to commentate on what's going on up front. This has given me a front row seat and I am enjoying it. Scott looking strong. Enrique coming off the front. Strong, very, very strong showing in one of his first sprint zones. Scott looking strong, and Scott trying to get Justin to come through. Now it's a battle of the opportunist. Justin wants no part of this. He is not inclined to oblige Scott. And again, trying to get him to come through, but it is not happening here. It's like, what is going on? Scott is like tired, but you reap what you sow sometimes. And both of these gentlemen really didn't bring anybody else up in the sprint zone, which, is kind of good because you really want a selection. But when it comes down to tactical savvy, Scott was exercising his rights. Justin looking really strong, no doubt in the number 2 position as Byron a ramming and a thumping up front. Justin looking super, super comfortable there. No strain on his body whatsoever. Enrique back there looking strong, and I assume Scott is still hanging on as we have our final selection of the melee. Looking strong here as Enrique stands up a little bit, but he's getting a little bit of respite as he's able to miss a few pedal strokes and get the blood to calm down in his system. Scott looks like he's swinging at the rear as Byron comes back through the pack. Scott's going to let Byron slot in here, I believe, and that's going to give Scott a little bit of respite. As you can see, his tired body is allowing his bike to wander a bit. Yeah, indeed. Little flashing reflector or light there, as if it's a signal to say SOS, SOS. I am in trouble. In any case, you get a good view of what it looks like to hang on and to see how far they have distanced themselves. I wish I had more footage because my little posse, which consisted of Dean, Tim, and Greg, were doing really well until Dean attacked our little group and basically broke it up, and it was kind of unfortunate. But I'll make mental note of that I probably should not have gone with Dean because it just wasn't, it didn't help anybody's cause. Didn't know how strong he was, perhaps without the opposite of the coach, he'd be able to pull me all the way up. In any case, Scott gives up the ghost here. Head down, game over. Justin coming through, and it looks like it's the final 3. Byron at the front, and I know Byron really doesn't have any aspirations of winning this from behind because that would be like taking candy from children. No disrespect to those who've gotten dropped, but Byron is in fact from another planet the way his recent performances have been, especially last year of late. It looks like perhaps Enrique maybe giving up the ghost also, unable to hang on the big man's wheel. Justin looking super comfortable as if there's no issue here. But what has happened? What has happened? Has everyone been ridden off the big man's cape? Could that be what I'm seeing here this early in the season? Oh, I just don't know. I am impressed. At least that's from what I can see. Can't really tell that much, but that was pretty good. And a good time was had by all. Until next time, party on.